Hello, guys. Welcome
Hi.
to our channel. Yeah, today I have a good friend of mine, Patrick. Welcome, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, Jenna.
Hello. Thank you very much, first of all, accepting my, invitation. It's going to be the first live broadcast today, so I'm really excited and a little bit nervous, though. And let's wait a little bit. So right now we are 16, and it's getting higher and higher. Meanwhile, thank you so much. I'm really, really, really happy that we are gonna make this live together. At least it's my first, and I believe it's your first too, huh?
Yeah, it's my first too, so I'm excited as well. So thank you very much for the invitation and that I can be your first guest here. So I
Yeah.
think we have some interesting topics here today to discuss, and yeah, and
Yeah, I
I'm
think
happy
so.
to
I
be here.
believe I will learn lots of different things from you because this is the part, I'm familiar aviation in Turkey, in Middle East, in the US, but though I took my flight training in Germany, Lufthansa, but I'm not that familiar with flying in Europe. I mean, as a pilot, how is it like being pilot in Europe? So I believe apart from our, guest today, I will be learning a lot as well. I'm really excited. So how about if you introduce yourself first?
Yeah, sure.
And yeah.
So my name is Patrick. I'm 33 years old and currently live in Vienna. I'm married, have 2 kids, and I fly for Lufthansa. You probably know the airline. So I'm
Yeah.
not based in Vienna. It's very unfortunate. So I have to commute to my work to Frankfurt. And yeah, so to my person, I always wanted to fly. That was a dream of me when I was really young already, also with 4 or 5 years already. And so I thought, yeah, how can I do this? And I thought best would be through the Lufthansa flight training. And I did the training there and yeah, started flying in 2015 actually, but not with
Wow.
Lufthansa, but with Austrian Airlines first. That was my first airline. And 2018, I switched to Lufthansa then. So I can give you some details later on why first Austrian
Yeah, as we
Airlines?
continue. Exactly.
I
Actually, I
can,
have lots of questions already. Yeah. So you are a pilot since 2015.
yeah.
Wow, you're very
So
experienced. How many total? How many thousands hours you have? Like,
around
wow,
4,000, so 3,900 at the moment.
wow,
And
that's cool. That's really cool. So for those who doesn't know me, I can also introduce myself as well. Guys, I am Jenna. I'm from Turkey. I started my flying career in Turkish Airlines, and I took actually my flight training in Lufthansa Flight Training Center, but not the one I believe that you take, because we were studying in PTN, Pilot
yeah,
Training Network. This is the different flight training school. Actually, Lufthansa sells the slots for those who wants to be a pilot, not for Lufthansa, but on their own if they finance themselves. Anyways, I was cadet for Turkish Airlines. Then I've been sent to Germany. I spent 2 years in Germany. Out of these 2 years, I was in the States for 3.5 months in Florida, Vero Beach, one of the best flying ever I have ever had, VFR phase.
yeah.
So then I come back to Germany, another maybe 6 months in Frankfurt. Then we went to Rostock for IFR phase. And once I finished my IFR training, then I went to Berlin and I got my type rating 737 in Lufthansa Flight Training Center. It is surprisingly enough, Lufthansa doesn't have a 737, but we took our 737 type rating in Lufthansa Flight Training Center. That was a great opportunity for me. And after that, I started flying Turkish Airlines. I'm 33 years old. And then after that, flying maybe I totally stayed in Turkish Airlines maybe around 6 years, but I was cadet for the first 18 months. And after that, I moved to Emirates. I stayed there 3.5 years. Now I made a move to US. Now I'm in training in one of the legacies in the US as well. So this quick introduction of myself. Uh, okay, actually we can start, because I got really interested in when you say you actually start flying for Austrian Airlines. But as far as I
Yeah,
know, Austrian Airlines is also Lufthansa's company, right?
that's a part of Lufthansa, but it's a totally different airline. And
Mm-hmm.
I did my training at Lufthansa. It started already in 2010. And yeah, then we had to wait for a job because it was an MPL course and multi-pilot license, which means we are bounded to one specific operator, which was Lufthansa at the time, because we did our training there. But they
Mm-hmm.
had no positions for first officers in 2013 when I finished the training. Yeah, therefore I had to wait. And in 2015, they had no positions as well, but they made an agreement with Austrian Airlines that we can fly there, also with this operator bonding, which we have in our license. And yeah, so I could start my career at Austrian Airlines. And in 2018, when they finally hired new first officers, I switched back to Lufthansa then. That was the
That's
reason.
great. Does Lufthansa have base abroad apart from Germany, like Australia
No,
and other? Only in
it's
Germany.
just Munich and Frankfurt. And the Lufthansa Group is a lot of different airlines which have bases all around Europe. So also
Mm-hmm.
Brussels Airlines, for example, in Brussels, or Eurowings in Palma, Stockholm, and Prague, for example. So there are a lot of different bases from the Lufthansa Group, but Lufthansa itself, it's only Frankfurt and Munich. Yeah,
I got you. I got you. But did you fly all the time with 320s or like the
yeah,
19, 20,
all
21?
the time 320s. So I did my type rating. There was a short basic jet training. I did it on the 737, also at Lufthansa flight training. But it was only 7 missions in the simulator, I think. And thereafter, the normal 320 type rating started. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I
How do you
flew
find
almost,
320? Do you like it?
yeah, I like it. So I flew almost all versions of the 320 you can ever imagine, the 319, 20, 21, with different engines and different age. So I actually flew the Papa Alpha, which was built in 1989. That's one of the
Wow.
oldest 320 ever built. I think it had a serial number of 55 or so. That was, by fact, one of two airplanes which were older than me, which I flew.
Yeah, I'm 1989. I was born in 1989, literally. That's the same
Yeah, me
story
too.
with me. There was some airplanes in Turkish Airlines, all 737s that I flew with them. They were like with the same age with me almost. I was like, wow, I need to be
Yeah,
respectful to this airplane.
yeah,
So we can say that there is one Boeing guy, which is me, and one Airbus guy, guys. So it's a great, if you want to send your comments, so if you have any questions about flying Boeing and Airbus, we can answer those as well. So one day, would
sure.
you like to fly Boeing?
Yeah, I'm very interested in Boeing. So I flew Airbus now for 8 years, and I think it would be a very nice change to fly maybe a 777 or a 747. And yeah, I'm planning to fly long haul the next year maybe, or the year after that. So it's seniority based in our airline. That means I have to wait till I have the seniority to switch to long haul, and then I maybe choose the 777 to fly.
So
I
for
think the
those who
cockpit,
does, say again.
the 777 cockpit is looking very cozy, I think, and it's also technically from the part that I know, it's a great airplane, and so I'm really
Oh
interested to
man,
fly it. So you
I
can tell.
flew 777 3.5 years. I must say that one of the best airplane I have ever
Yeah.
flown because it's really great. First of all, people have a tendency to think that the bigger airplane it is the most difficult to fly with, but
Yeah.
actually it is not true. The fact is it's really easy airplane to fly with, and the most important thing is, very nice environment. You don't feel tired because they have,
Mhm.
after flying 737 was a very noisy airplane. Then I switched back to 777 is not that noisy because the engines are far behind, and also it's huge airplane, very stable, very clean design. So landing is very easy in 777 compared to 73. Now I'm switching back to 73. I was like, it's always easy to switch from 73 to 777, but when you step down to 73, you feel like, oh,
Mhm.
I am lazy. 777 was doing everything for me, but most probably since you're flying Airbus, it's very advanced technological wise I'm talking about.
Yeah, really.
So you are not gonna struggle to switch from 320 to 777. Okay, I have another question for those who don't know what kind of airplane types you have in Lufthansa. Can you just tell us how many different types of airplane you have?
Yeah, that's on short haul, we only have the A320 at the mainland Lufthansa. We have also Lufthansa CityLine, which actually is a different airline. So I cannot fly there, and the pilots from CityLine cannot fly at the mainline. So it's a totally separate subdivision. So at mainland, we
Mhm.
only have the 320s, and long haul, we have 747, then A330, 340, which can be flown together in one fleet,
Mhm.
and the A352, which is based in Munich at the moment. Then we have the 787 just coming in, and also the 777 coming, maybe 2025. And we
You mean
have the cargo
777X?
777, 777X, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So we have the
Yeah.
cargo
So
777F,
wow.
and we also, I think, did I forget? I don't know. No, I think that was it. Yeah, the A380. Sure, we have the A380.
Yeah, I was gonna say
It's,
380. Did you retire
yeah,
all? Did Lufthansa retire all 380s, or because I read in news they say that they will return back to 380s because of the these factors that people are started flying all around the world. They will bring back to
yeah.
380s. What do you think?
So they had 14 A380s at the beginning, and due to COVID, they all retired. But now the 777X is taking so long to arrive, so they needed some planes to fit in the gap, and they brought back, I think, they will bring back 8 from the 14 A380s. So 8 will be back, and the other 6 they sold somewhere. I don't know.
I got you. We have a question. What is the difference between Airbus A320 and A320 Neo? Would you like to answer that? Did you
Yeah,
fly with
sure.
Neo, by the way?
Yeah, I've flown the Neo, the
Nice.
A320 Neo, the 321 Neo. And the biggest difference is actually the engine. So the Neo means new engine option. And yeah, it's far more fuel efficient than the old one. So if you fly the old 320, it burns around 2,400 kilograms per hour. and the Neo burns only 2,000. So it's actually 20% less fuel consumption. That's the biggest difference. And apart from that, there's some small system differences, but the cockpit is 98% the same like the old 320, I would say.
No, nice. That's great. I mean, I flew with the Max as well, but after the Max issues, 320 got Neo, especially in 20 and 21. They are superior to 737 Max now because the orders, I believe, if you now order new Airbus Neos, it's going to take for a while to get this airplane back because there's a backlog, I heard. And did Lufthansa order 321 XLR? Do you know about it?
Not yet, I think. So they ordered a lot of 321 Neos, but I think it's not yet specified if there's some extra long range in that order. But at the moment, we have only the normal 321 Neo, which is also a plane that can fly rather far because it's so fuel efficient. But the extra long range is flying much farther, that's true.
Yeah, actually, I want to fly one day Airbus as well because I flew on the 73, 777. I'm back to 73, and I can fly 75, 76, and 78. But the thing is, the Airbus, I would like to fly either a 350 or 321 XLR because I believe this airplane will be very easy to fly over Atlantic because it will have really huge endurance time, I believe. And in the future, we are young enough to see these airplanes flying all around the world, and most probably we will be flying.
So what's a really interesting issue with flying over the Atlantic, the Airbus gets rather cold at your feet when you're sitting in the cockpit for 3 or 4 hours during the night. The isolation is not that good, so your feet really get cold. So I'm wondering, and maybe at the extra long range, if they put some better foot warmer there that you don't freeze.
But don't you have these foot heaters? Because in 73 we had something like this. You can direct the ventilation towards your feet.
Yeah, but it's doing not much. So we have the switch, we flip it, and we're always wondering, is something behind the switch because you switch it and nothing happens.
I got you. Patrick, we have another question. For your training, was it were you cadet? Were you cadet in Lufthansa, or did you pay for your own training?
No, that was a cadet program. So I did basically the selection for Lufthansa before the training, and then I signed the training contract. This includes that you have a bond for the training, which was 60,000 euros back then. And if you get the job, you have to pay back the 60,000. That was the deal. Right. It changed a lot over the years, but that was basically the deal of the cadet program.
But then you paid for it. But if you didn't get a job, in that case, was it free? Patrick, can you hear us? I think we had some small connection issues. And meanwhile,
I just repeat.
Yeah, for the last 5-6 seconds, we didn't hear you. Can you just repeat? My last question was, if you couldn't get the job, were you still supposed to pay 60,000?
Yeah, that was, they had a 5 years period where they had to offer you a job. And if these 5 years elapsed, you wouldn't have to pay it back. That was the deal.
I see.
If they offered you a job after 4 years, then you have to pay back the 60,000 euros. But now it's a totally different system. That was only the deal back then in the 2013-14 when I did the training there.
Well, what is the deal now? Do you know?
Now it's more like you pay it in advance, 107,000, I think. And you only guarantee the job at the Lufthansa group, so not at the Lufthansa main line. But they guarantee you that you get a job within the group in 2 years after your training. And if you don't get a job, I think you only have to pay back the half of the training.
I see. So someone asked as well, Patrick, Lufthansa Training Center does not give the training fees in advance as it was like it many years ago. Yeah, you have to pay on yourself for the whole training, and they have no job guarantee as Turkish. You said more
Yeah,
or less the
that's
same thing.
just what I said. So they have kind of a job guarantee, but not a whole guarantee like 10 years ago. And
Yeah,
not for
uh,
Lufthansa, that's the main point. So it's a guarantee that you get a job within the group. And but if you don't get a job within the group, you also have to pay back half of the costs. Yeah.
I got you. So I have another question. So you are Austrian, but you took your training in Lufthansa, so you were able to apply actually cadet for program for Lufthansa.
Yeah.
So what was the criteria? I believe you have to know German. Not a big deal
Yeah.
for you, but I'm asking for those coming from other countries. Is there any German language requirement? And the second of all, the applicants, can they apply all around Europe, or you like European
So
Union
there were
or other
basically
countries?
there were two criteria. So you have to be fluent in German because we also speak German in the cockpit and on the ground with the staff on the ground in Frankfurt and Munich. We only speak German basically. And the second criteria, you have to be able to get the work permit in Germany. So either European Union citizen, and for those who don't are, I don't know exactly how it works.
I see. I see. That's what I
Yeah,
know, I believe, because since I take my flight training in Lufthansa, the instructors told exactly the same thing. For instance, we
yeah.
had an Italian instructor who flew us for Lufthansa. He said it took me a year to improve my German before I apply for Lufthansa. So he was
Oh,
struggling.
so you know
And when,
German as well? I didn't know.
huh?
So
Second?
you speak German as well?
No, no. This Italian guy told that it took a year for me to improve my, German language
Ah,
skills.
okay, the
I
Italian
applied
guy.
many
Yeah.
times. I've been rejected because I didn't have enough German knowledge. Man,
Yeah,
I try to learn German. It's very difficult. You had these long words in your language. I
yeah,
cannot
no.
even pronounce it. Yeah,
So I
that's
see the
that's
next
really nice. So
the
the
next question.
are there foreign pilots for Lufthansa? Is only for Germans.
Yeah, so there are a
So
lot of
actually,
foreign pilots, but all
I
speak
mean,
German. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, theoretically, you are foreigner, right? You are not German, but you are Austrian, but you can
Yeah.
speak German, so you applied. So you already answered this question. Yeah, unfortunately, it's really nice. It's really bad to see these airlines are trying to, for instance, when I joined Turkish Airlines, we had only 100,000 euros bond, and we are offered a
Mhm.
job. But now, for those who, applied Turkish Airlines Cadet Academy, they're still offered a job, and it's not like 2 years, 5 years waiting time. You are employed the day first in Turkish Airlines, then you go to training. So you are gonna get paid, you know it. But the thing is, like,
Mhm.
they keep increasing the bond. Right now in Turkish Airlines is
Yeah.
140,000 as far as I know,
Oh, really?
and then
That's
it's
a lot.
going, yeah, it's going up and up. It's huge, huge money. I mean, I've been getting lots of questions from Turkish guys like, okay, what do you think? Should I go my own flight training and then apply Turkish Airlines, or I can, should I apply through the cadet program? I was like, it's a matter of the money. I didn't have any money when I was student. I couldn't afford my flight training. I went to Turkish
Mhm.
Airlines. But right now, I always recommend, if you have money, so you can make it almost half price, because 45,000 euro, you can finish your AB initial flight training, and then on top of that, if you pay like 20, 25,000, you can get your type rating. But there it comes to questions. You don't have job security in that case. You need to fight
Mhm.
for your own job. In Turkish Airlines, you are directly offered a job, which is really, really relaxed. So you know
Yeah.
that you will be flying a jet. That's the problem. When we were in Lufthansa flight training school, these guys were really jealous of us, because they're like, guys, we are
Mhm.
paying for our own training and we don't have a job at all. But you are already offered a job, and we know that you are going to fly a jet after 200 hours. That was great
Mhm.
opportunity. All right, I'll move on. So for the
So I have
my next
a
question,
question for
actually,
you. So, Jana, the bond at Turkish, the 140,000, do you have to pay it
say,
back, or is it only if you leave Turkish, then you have to
no,
pay it?
no, that's the problem. I wish it was like this, what you said. But once you don't pay throughout your training, of course you are getting paid salaries and everything, you have insurance,
Yeah.
but you only sign the bond, let's say 140,000 euros. Once you start working as a pilot, then they will deduct this 140,000 euro
Okay.
from your salary. It
Okay.
could, like within 10 years time period. But that's the problem right now, because
Yeah.
I was getting paid in Turkish liras, but my bond was in euros. And Turkish liras versus euro, Turkish lira is always losing value against the euro, and your salary is same amount of Turkish lira, but since because you have euro bond, you were paying extra more each month. So that was the problem, and it's still the problem. So your bond your bond actually will be there for at least 10 years, and you will be paying more and more Turkish liras. That's the main challenging point. But at least you are offered the job. So, okay, I will move on. So you said you take your MPL training, and I got the traditional flight training. So it's totally different from each other. So did you like the MPL training?
I really liked it because it was a really good training and prepared us exactly for the line operation. For example, the IFR phase, we only flew in a two-man cockpit. And yeah, we flew the Cessna Citation, actually, which was a really good training to fly Airbus later on, because it has almost the same performance. Sure, it is a lot slower, but it can fly actually higher, so 41,000 feet, and it can also fly rather the same approaches than an Airbus. And so we had an excellent training to do the type rating on the A320 later on. I think that's really
so nice.
prepared
So
us
it's
good.
preparing for you to flying jets. I got traditional training because I couldn't say the same. Most of the time I fly Cessna, Piper, Diamond, but once you finish your training, you go type rating. It's totally different performance, totally different operation. So it takes some time to get used to with the airplane. So that's the main thing. But the thing is like, of course, this is not valid for Lufthansa because it's a huge airline, but I heard some complaints for these MPL guys. Since you are tied to a company, and once you finish the training, there are some companies abusing the system because they know that you cannot change the company, you are tied to that. Then they give you little salary. They say, okay, you pay us while flying, because I heard literally very sad stories about it. People are flying jets for a company, but yet they're still paying for them. So I felt like, okay, this MPL is good, especially if you want to fly jets, but there should be some flexibility for those pilots, who wants to change a job. So what is the limit? So how long you have to fly for these companies? I don't know. Do you have any idea about it?
I know. So in the days back then, it was after the line training, you get the free license. So I did my line training at Austrian Airlines, 3 or 4 months line flying. And then I was a fully checked first officer, and then I was not bound to any operator anymore.
I see.
But also there were some changes, and I don't know if still there's an operator bonding anymore.
I don't know, to be
At
honest.
least in Germany. I think they made some amendments here.
Yeah, that's great.
And that
That's
was
really
also
great.
the problem back then. So I finished training in 2013, and due to the operator bonding, I couldn't get a job somewhere else because, Lufthansa didn't hire, and I had just to wait till they either made an agreement with Austrian Airlines, like they did later on, or till they start to hire for themselves. So, I had to wait almost 2 years then.
I got your point. Okay, guys, by the way, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And once you like, actually, this video will be recommended to many guys. So please go ahead and like and promote the live video so everyone can see it. And for those who cannot join today, they can watch it later on. All right. I want to move on from your initial training to your actual flying experience, as you said. And you said that once you finished the MPL training and there was no job at that moment for Lufthansa, and you started working in Austrian Airlines. So can you just talk us, how was it? So how was it flying for Australian Airlines? You were based in your home, so in your country.
Yeah.
So did you like it?
So that was... matter of fact, really nice to be based in Vienna, And I also had a lot of day trips at Austrian Airlines, but I liked it because, for example, I had check-in at 6 o'clock in the morning. Then I flew Vienna to London and back to Vienna, and then I was at home at 1 p.m. maybe.
Nice.
And I had a lot of these days and really a lot of time at home. That was nice.
That's great. So how many days of average did you get in Australian Airlines?
So Austrian Airlines, that was a really big difference between summer and winter time, because in summer they had a lot of charter flights to Greek islands, and so in summer we only had minimum 8 days off, but usually 9 or 10 days off, and winter time also 15 days off, so more relaxed than
because your salary was fixed, or your salary was based on how many hours you fly in a month? How was these things works in Europe? Especially, I'm asking for Austrian Airlines.
Pretty similar for Austrian and Lufthansa. So you have some block hours which you get paid every month, and if you fly more block hours than this amount, you get overtime. But if you fly less, you get paid the amount for these block hours anyhow.
So that's great. So as winter time, your salary was
75 hours a month. It also changes with the time, sometimes a bit up, sometimes a bit down, but 75 hours, and if you fly more, you get overtime then.
I see. The limit is 75.
75 is if you fly more than 75, you get paid more. It's overtime then.
I see. Same in Turkish Airlines, but the good thing is in Turkish Airlines is limited 70. As far as I remember, if you fly 1 to 70, you get paid exactly the same amount. But if you fly above the 70, then in that case, you get paid extra.
Yeah, it was the same with Austrian and Lufthansa. So if you fly 20 hours, you also get paid the 75. Yeah.
Nice. We have another question before I ask. Patrick, what's your opinion about S&P training? What is this S&P training? I don't know.
S&P training. Is it the training provider who provides courses for the DLR course? I don't know. So online simulations. Give me a hint. I think it's they are based in Hamburg, and they make courses for that you can pass the selection for Lufthansa. I think that's a company for that. But I can check it in the internet quick.
Yeah, we can check. And online simulations, can you? Yeah. Okay, yes. And meanwhile, I will ask you one more question. Can you bid for your flights in Australian Airlines? So were you able to choose wherever you would like to go, layover, destination?
Yeah, there was kind of a bidding system, but it wasn't working so good. So I probably could bid one flight per month or maybe two. And the thing which was really good, I had 5 days off, which I could either lay 5 days in a row, or I could separate them just how I liked them, and I always got them. So, but you could only place 2 days off on a weekend, so you couldn't place every 5.
So
but
it's not that great, but most of the time you get what you want.
Yeah.
Based on
with the flights, it was a bit difficult, but the days off bidding was okay.
I got your point. Nick asked, do you like to fly 350s? Man, I didn't hear any pilot in my life who don't want to fly with 350s. I think everyone will say yes. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's a nice airplane, but as I flew Airbus for so many years now, I'm really interested in flying Boeing. If it will be an A350, it will be great at all, but I'm just looking forward to fly a Boeing one day.
True. I'm saying.
Just read the next question. Is it true that Lufthansa is the best paying airline in Europe? It's difficult to say. I don't know, actually.
I don't know it either. You need to know each airline in that case.
Yeah. I just can say for myself, it's a good salary. It's not the best salary in the world. You sure can find companies which pay more, but I think it's the whole package which is good. So I'm happy with the
Yeah,
salary here. And
great.
if
But
it's the
from a
best
personal,
paying,
yeah,
I
sorry
don't know
about
if
it.
it's the best paying airline in Europe. That's hard to say. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, you need to know each airline salary before you answer this question. But the thing is, what's my observation? Unfortunately speaking, salaries in Europe, I'm not talking about specifically for Lufthansa, is really low compared to world. For
Yeah.
instance, like, yeah, life. I will take you this example. Life in Turkey is cheap. But if you're a pilot in Turkish Airlines or Pegasus or some other airlines, you can get paid as high as European like legacies. I'm not kidding.
Mhm.
And even sometimes more. Right now, an average FO in Turkish Airlines makes around $6,000. Of course, sometimes during COVID time, there was no protection. It went down less than $1,000. But when it is
Mhm.
stabilized somehow, when I was in Turkish Airlines, I was getting paid $6,000, which is almost 6,000 euro, which is a good salary. And I don't think many airlines offer 6,000 euros to their first officers in Europe.
That's
So
really good.
that's the
I
thing.
don't think either. Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunately speaking, the salaries in Europe is not that great because in Europe everything is just like adjusted. I have friends from different fields, like let's say engineers, lawyers, doctors.
Mhm.
There is no big differences on their salaries. But whereas
Mhm.
if you move to Turkey, Middle East, US, you can see the pilots are getting paid really, really, really great
Mhm.
salaries compared to the rest of the jobs. That's the difference. That's my observation. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think so too. I just read on the news all the time in America that pilots are getting paid more and more. And yeah, you're
Exactly,
there.
especially
Maybe
right
you
now,
can say something about that.
yeah, I mean, the salaries in the US right now, I can say, if, based on what I've read, maybe I'm wrong as well. If there's any, is there any guy who can correct me? He can or she can correct me as well. The salaries in the US is progressive. That's the great thing. Once you join a company, you know how much your salary will be in the next 10 years because there's a scale all the time. And the salaries in the US first year is low compared to second year because there is no bond in the US Airlines. So literally, you can take your training, and after 10 days, you can literally resign or leave the company. The companies
Mhm.
cannot charge you any bond because this heavily unionized industry in the US, and therefore the companies are paying you less in year first compared to second year. And
Mhm.
after the second year, third year, and your salary is going up and up. And the other thing, the salaries that the average legacy pilot earns in the US is heavily depends on the contract, because if you are senior enough, if you know your contract, you can make huge money. I heard, you cannot
Mhm.
believe it, I heard some guys during COVID time they made $1 million. And
That's
that was
crazy.
like a I'm not kidding. The If you fly for the uh, freighter or like UPS, FedEx, or even Atlas during COVID
Yeah.
time, there were guys made around $1 million a year by knowing their contract. That's the thing. There
Mhm.
is no upper limit if you are senior enough. But if you are a very junior guy in the year first, it's not that great. And that's the thing. And right now, you cannot believe what's happening in the US. Even regionals are paying great salaries because I spoke with some guys. They're very senior captains, and they're like telling me, when I was in regional, I got paid $13,000 a year. A year,
Yeah.
$13,000, because regionals knew that, and they were taking the advantage of the pilots, because it's a step in the US. The order in the US like this: once you finish your training, it's not like Europe. You have to build some flying hours depending on your degree, either 1,000 or 1,500 hours you have to fly in
Mhm.
your airplane, or become a FTI, flight training instructor, and build your hours. Then you were supposed to go to regional, and then be a first officer, then be a captain in regional, excuse me. And after that, you were only allowed to go to legacies, and this path was taking maybe 10 years before you
Mhm.
reach final destination. And meanwhile, you were changing 3 4 companies, and you get paid really, really bad. But now the same guy said to me, I was getting paid $13,000 a year. But now the regional captains in the US can make $250,000 with included with the bonds, because when you sign a contract, they give you like welcome bonus, like maybe 200,000, 150,000, which is great. Right now, it's the best time for the US. Apart from the salaries, there are lots of retirements going on, and like each companies, there are like more than 1,000 guys, 600 guys, 700 guys are retiring each year, and it's going to be like this for the end of this decade. So it's really great right now to be in the US.
So I'm always wondering, how do you get the 1,500 hours in the US? So you need so many hours to get a job?
Exactly, but the system is designed that way. For instance, you study, you get your CPL, then you be an instructor for those who is taking their training. This is one method. Most of the guys are doing this, so they become instructor and teach to how to fly Cessna and Piper. Alternatively, there are some jobs which is very famous. If you're in Miami or Las Vegas, you see this towing airplanes. Like airplane makes a slow flight, and there's a banner behind, party tonight, go to casino, all these kind of things. You can do this kind of things. And there are some private pilot flying in agriculture sector, all these kind of things. Or alternatively, you can have your airplane or rent an airplane and fly 1,000 hours, 1,500 hours, which is going to be very expensive way to build your hours. Yeah, but there are some guys who are doing this as well. But most of the guys are being an instructor before they go to regionals. That's the thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue. Lufthansa chapter now. So, how many years you worked for Austrian? You said, but I forgot.
So for Austrian, I've worked around 3 years, and now I'm in Lufthansa for about 5 years.
That's great. So you've been in Lufthansa for the last 5 years. So what's your impression about Lufthansa? Do you like it? Because there's a dream for everybody to be there.
Yeah. So when I switched to Lufthansa, I really liked it. I especially liked here also the training which we got. It's very professional. So it's really standardized, and they try to prepare you really good for the operation there. So I got an operator conversion course when I switched from Austrian to Lufthansa, and then a small line training. Yeah. And then I started flying there. And yeah, so the roster is a bit different to Austrian Airlines. We have longer trips at Lufthansa. So often we are away for 4 days, 5 days, with layovers in between. So we have a 5-day trip, and every night we sleep in a different city. And we also have day trips like at Austrian Airlines, but not that much. And
okay, I'll move on to next question.
Easier to commute here.
I see. Yeah, no doubt with that. Chef Alicia asks, is it difficult balancing being a pilot and having a family? That's a great question, actually. What do you think about it?
That's really a great question, yeah. And I think in some way it's difficult, but it also has some advantages. So at Lufthansa, for example, I'm away, or I have off days, and per month I usually have around 13 days off normally. And yeah, if you work a 9-to-5 job at the office, you don't have that much days off. But sure, when I'm 5 days away, I don't get it home at all. So it's very hard for my wife. When I'm 5 days away, she has to look after the 2 kids alone, and yeah, that's exhausting too. Yeah, but when I'm back home, I don't have to do anything for my work. Sure, sometimes I have to prepare stuff, but it's not like in an office job where you get calls all the time, or yeah, you have to be there for your company all the time. So when I'm off and I'm at home, I really have time for my kids. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's the beauty of our job. Once you leave the airplane, as long as you don't have any simulator that you need to prepare for it, most of the time you leave the job at work. When you come home, this is your private time. I love it so much, because I have corporate friends and they're like, oh, I need to prepare presentation for tomorrow. I have to work overtime. This is really something I don't like it. So that brings me actually next question. Do you enjoy flying like simulators on computer and everything? Have you ever tried this kind of things?
Yeah, when I was younger, I flew a lot in simulator, Microsoft Flight Sim.
Yeah,
But yeah, since I started on the job, I don't fly anymore because I have fun flying in the real world and yeah, not too much
yeah,
time. So then,
true. And
but
also
sure,
what
it
I
would be fun
feel
to fly
once,
sometimes. And you
exactly,
yourself?
but that's the good question because I was interested in, but once I started real flying and then hand flying, I was like, this is not, something I want to do because I do the real time thing, which is 10
Yeah,
times, 20 times more fun. And when I
that's
come
true. Yeah.
home and when I spend some time flying simulator, I didn't feel like, okay, this is like my passion because I'm doing what's my passion at work and it's very realistic. And right now I don't want to spend my time doing simulator things, but maybe what I'm planning in the future, I can have some simulator, say like fly Microsoft or Explain, to teach other guys how to fly or at least give
Mhm.
some basics, like basic theories about it. Maybe I can do it for education purposes, but not definitely
Mhm.
for my hobbies. I would like to fly or something like this,
I
because once you
actually
fly the real
know
mission.
I know some guys here in my company who are doing this and putting videos on YouTube. And I think it's very interesting for people to watch real pilots fly a flight simulator. And yeah, the flight sim is really good. So it has a lot of systems like the real plane. So yeah, you can actually learn something.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, in Canada we have 12 guaranteed days off a month and can beat our schedule to even have 15 days off in a month. Is this possible in Europe, Turkey, and ME, most probably Middle East? Yeah, what do you want to say? You answer
Yeah.
Europe, then I will answer Turkey and Middle East.
Okay. So Europe, I can say at Lufthansa we have 10 guaranteed days off, but usually it's more. It's usually around 13. And if you are good at bidding, you can also get 15 days off. Or if there's not so much to fly, maybe in winter time.
Hmm.
And you can bid your schedule quite well at Lufthansa because I have 4 days off, which I can put somewhere. I can either split them in two and two or
Hmm.
leave them together. And I also can bid longer tours like the 5 day trip. And then I know I bid the 5 day trip, and the
Hmm.
2 days after that are off guaranteed. So I can plan my own schedule a bit. And I can also set criteria like I want to have a 4 day trip with a layover in, I don't know, Munich, for example, which starts at the first week of the month. So I can set some criteria, and then the chances are really high that I get the trip which fulfills the criteria here.
Yeah. So for Sabik's question, I want to say Canada and US, they're very, very unionized country when it comes to flying. So most probably we have 12 days off because of the union. So even though there's union in Europe, I believe they're not that strong as the American ones, because I've read lots of news about the companies. They are making more daughter companies rather than employing to main companies. Like all companies, flag carriers in the US, in Europe, are doing this. So from this point of perspective, there is, I believe, no way any airline in the world that will be so close to Canada and US. So in Turkey,
Hmm.
is dream to have 15 days off. If you're flying 73, they will give you bare minimum, which is 8-9 days, and that's it. Theoretically, you can even have 7 days off in a month, so you don't even need to have 8 days off, as far as I know. So as a 737 pilot in Turkey, 15 days off, there's no way to do it. Impossible. But if you're a wide body captain, there's different story. But what companies are doing in Turkey, unfortunately, there's not much wide body operator in Turkey, only a couple of them, including the freighter ones. So they give you basic, mandatory minimum days off. Then you can have extra days off, but they are not days off. For instance, if you fly to wide body, then you need to have at least like 2 nights at home, 36 hours for the 48 day hours. So you have these ULR days off, but this is different codes in their roster. So
Mm.
basically, if you're a wide body pilot, first officer and captain, you might get up to 13, 14 days off in Turkey, but definitely not in 73 or 320 fleets. The companies are aiming 8 days off. Put your roster 8, 5 hours or whatever the demand for this month, and then you can get 8, 9 days. And Middle East is different story, because most of the Middle Eastern carriers that I could answer, they are wide body operators. So in wide body, you naturally get more days off, but they don't have minimum like 12, 13 days off. They offer you what is minimum in the FTL, which is flight time limitations, which is 8 days. But it is very rare to have 8 days off in Middle East carriers. In general, you have 10, 11, 12 days off. I just check my days off at Emirates. In general, I get around 12 days off. But if you are in 380, we're flying even longer destinations, then you were getting more days off, around 14, 15. But those are not protected. Don't forget, one day literally you can have 8 days off. Is somehow how your roster is structured. But that being said, it's very rare to get 7, 8 days off if you're a wide body pilot. But if you're a narrow body pilot, definitely you will get the bare minimum. That's the good thing in Canada and America. They are protected. So no matter what airplane you are flying, you will get minimum 12, 13. And as Sabik said, there are even guys who can make 20 days off. So they can be one long turns, which is 88 hours, and you do this 10 times a month. You get 80 hours and you work only 10 times and you can get 20 days off. And literally you can be at home all these 30 days. That's the quick summary of these days off.
Yeah, I think which I can add. So the days off also depend a bit on how the flight schedule of your company is. For example, at Lufthansa, we are planned a bit more productive in my feeling that we were back then at Austrian Airlines. So we fly more hours per day. So most of the time we have a bit more days off during the month, which I personally prefer.
Definitely, I agree. I mean, I don't think it's not a big problem for companies. If they want to solve this issue, they can solve, but they need to invest these tools a lot, which will cost them millions of euros and dollars to have this optimization tools. Okay, before reading the next question, this is really important for me. Do you need to pay for your ticket when you are commuting?
Yes. So I buy a standby ticket, and I'm not allowed to tell the exact price of the ticket, but I have to pay it. And yeah, it sums up to quite a bit when I commute, but I think I have around 4 to 5 commutes per month in average, so it's okay.
It is
would be
okay,
better to
but
live on the base, but at least I can live here in Vienna, which is my home city, and
yeah, that's great, but not the best. I'll tell my example, man. Any pilot in the US, they fly for free in any airline, so that's a great perk, to be honest. So let's say you're a pilot at American Airlines, and then you can travel in the mainland of US everywhere for free. All you need to do, just list yourself for the travel, and then you can travel wherever you want to go, and you can travel in each airline. That's great perk, man. In the US, I can fly anywhere right now without paying anything, and in my company, I can fly wherever they fly for free. You don't even pay taxes, nothing.
They're always on the flights, so 10% stuff maybe.
Because it's very common in the US to have commuting guys. So airplanes are always full. Sometimes you'll see 35 standbys in each flights. They're trying to commute. The main thing is like there are main hubs in the US, like all big airports: Chicago, Los Angeles, San Fran, Miami, or Houston, Dallas. There are those airports are bases for different airlines. So if you fly from one big airport to another big airport in the US, it's okay to see 30, 40 standby guy. But at the end of the day, it's free, you don't pay.
That's good. So, but
okay.
you yourself? will be living at base, or will you commute yourself too?
Oh, no. I don't see myself anywhere close commuting. I hate commuting. I mean, with
Yeah.
respect, I don't want to rush myself. Am I gonna catch the flight? Am I gonna, because I don't know in Europe, but in the US, man, you can find everything. Thunderstorms, floodings. Every time something happening in the US, like if you go to Florida, there's a flooding all the time, or like hurricanes are coming. If you go to Dallas or somewhere, if you go to New York region, it's always having something, and these airports are really busy. So it's very easy to mess up with the flights, and then you need to think of what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And I don't want to lose. That's great, because you said you only commit once, then you fly 3-4 times, and also this is also this is also the case in the US. People are commuting and fly 4 days, then come back and then commit back to their home. But the life is really great if you don't commute. I'm planning to rent a place actually. I will be based in Houston. I will be 15 minutes away from the airport, so I'm not gonna rush myself or anything. That's the thing.
That's cool, yeah. So you
But
can
also
even do
this.
your standby duty at home.
Say again?
You even can do your standby duties in your home then.
Exactly. That's the thing. If you have short call, you just sit at home, have your coffee, do your thing, and if they call you, you can show up in the airport in 30-40 minutes. That's the great thing. And also, I understand everyone's case is different. For instance, you are Australian, you have family there, you're attached to that. And all American pilots are exactly the same. But since I just moved to US, I don't have home, I don't know anywhere. So for me, it is better to make home where you are based, because it doesn't make any difference for me if I'm based in Houston or somewhere else. Of course, I have my priorities, like cheap cost of the life in Texas. There is no state income tax in Texas. Weather is more or less like Dubai. So it's always hot, humid, sunny. Some people hate it, but I hate snow. I would rather be in the southern part of the US, and Houston is one of the most affordable area for me, especially in the year first. That's why I chose it. Okay, there is one question from Jedi01. Are there any flight schools you guys can recommend for me as a European citizen? So what do you think? Do you have any?
So my training is some years ago. I did it between 2010 and 2013. So I'm a little bit out of the materia, but I think it's still the Lufthansa flight school is still pretty good, and they sure will do a professional job, I suppose. And from what I hear, if the package as a whole is good for you, you can only say for yourself. But I think the school should be good. Yeah.
I see.
And the other flight schools, I don't really know much about. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Jedi. Same here, because the problem here, we took our flight training way long time ago, and everything has changed since, and I'm being very cautious about, to be honest, recommending a flight school, because there are some flight school, they're making very competitive price, and they extinguish from the market, and there are lots of guys who got unfortunately affected from that, and I never go and check any flight school, so it's very hard for me to recommend anything. So you should make your research, and it's always good to go very well-known flight schools, but those flight schools are expensive. You should decide the pros and cons on your own, because if you have enough money to afford great flight school, go for it. If not, do your best to check what is suiting you. But the more you move from West Europe towards the East Europe, the prices are getting low and low, because I checked some flight schools in Hungary, for instance, though they offer some EASA training, they offer very cheap compared to Ireland, Germany, because life is more expensive in those countries. So you can decide what's suiting you best, but I never ever give any recommendation about it. Okay, let's move on. I feel like I'm asking too many questions. If you have any questions towards me, you can ask as well, man. Feel free.
Yeah, sure. I always fit them in when I have one. But right at the moment, yeah, you can go on.
Okay. What's your opinion about Indian aviation? So I can answer this since I've been
Yeah,
flying to India many times, and I
that's a
must say
question
that
for you.
India will be the main hub in the next 10, 15 years in the world. The thing is, like, if you historically have a look at the aviation, so you can see the hubs were moving towards the east, like heating map. If you take the center of gravity of the moving map of the traffics, right now is somewhere close to Turkey, because the bases were like in UK, then come to slowly to east like a Germany, and now even Turkish Airlines had more flights than German companies like Lufthansa, because there are more trends towards this, and the population in the west is getting low and low. Meanwhile, in the east, the countries are growing, and that's why once you fly to India, China, even the Asia Pacific side, you will be seeing that there's a huge demand in the aviation. Unfortunately, during COVID time, this demand has been degraded a lot, especially the Asian countries. They had amazing, unbelievable lockdown, and still yet they didn't recover 100%. But once these countries recovered 100%, I strongly believe that there will be huge demand increase in aviation in Asia, and I strongly believe that the India will be the one of the best of those, because like companies like Qatar, uh, Etihad, Emirates are taking huge pie slice from those countries. Because when I fly, I was seeing that when we fly between Dubai to America, most of the passengers are Indian or Indian descent, like American, British guys, but they are coming from Indian background. So what I'm trying to say, there's a huge opportunity for India in the future to expand. And when you have a look at it, for the last 5 years, how many companies has been set up in the India? During COVID time, there were some companies that have been created, and also there's a huge order book from India for Boeing and Airbus. That being said, I believe that India will be really good in the next 20 to 20 years. Okay, Patrick, this is for you. Can you advise in
Mhm.
Germany the cadet program with huge fees, or go to a private flight school with the same or less training fees? That's the question
Yeah,
I was getting all the time. Now it's your turn.
it's really a hard question. I mean, the only thing I can tell, I think the cadet program sure has a very professional training, and it's a big flight school, and everything is well harmonized and standardized. And in the private flight school, you can also get a very good training, but you can also pick a flight school where the training is not so good. But I really can't give you any advice where to find a good flight school. So maybe it's always a good thing to ask people who are actually in the flight school and doing a training there, and they most probably can tell about their experiences then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I totally agree. My next question, what is the age that you can retire in Lufthansa earliest?
yeah, that's a pretty good thing here. At age 55, we can do a retirement and we get paid the amount of money each month from the company. And at the age of 65, it's the retirement age from the law in Germany. So the time between 55 and 65, we can get the money from the company, and can also retire already at 55. But you can also fly till the age of 65. So it depends on how long you want to fly, or how you feel yourself, if you're healthy or not. So if you
I
want,
got you.
you can really retire pretty early. So how
Ah,
is
that's
this
really great.
in the US? I think it's 65, or do you can also retire early?
Yeah, I'll answer that. But prior to that, I will ask something else. If, let's say, you chose to retire at the 55, between 55 to 65, you get paid by the company. But at the same time,
Hmm.
can you work for different company while you are getting paid by Lufthansa?
That's a difficult question, and I don't know the contracts per detail, so I really can't answer that.
I see. Fair
Um,
enough. Okay, I'll answer my question. To be honest, if there in the legacy carriers, you need to retire at the age of 65. That was previously 60. Now
Mm,
it has been moved to 65, and there are some, negotiation is going on. Should we increase the age 70? But like, definitely, I'm not supporting this. Even
mm,
65 is too much for me. But there's some, lobbying work who are trying to move the age limit to 70. But then there comes a problem because most of the flights are international, and those guys are 65 years old. They're mostly they're seniors, so they're flying wide bodies to different countries. And I don't think that international wise is possible to fly somewhere at the age of 70, because as far as I
mm.
know, the age limit is 65 for the most of the countries. But
Yeah.
since the US is a huge country, they can fly domestically, and there is no age limit for some certain flying experience. Like, there are different kinds of flying hours in the US, Part 121 for the commercial world. Like, there are other stuff which I'm not 100% sure, but even now you can continue flying and earning money once you are above 65 years old. But definitely this is not like same as you fly for Delta, American, United. There's like more
Mm.
other kind of flying, but you have to fly domestically.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. But I think most pilots prefer not to fly till the age of 70 because it's also an exhausting job and you have to do night flights, you have to get up early. And most people say, yeah, when they're getting older, it's getting difficult with sleeping and they're having some issues getting enough sleep. So I think probably not all guys want to fly till the age of 70.
I definitely agree with you. I mean, we are working hard, then we should be enjoying our life as well. If I could
Yeah.
choose, I would definitely wouldn't work until 65. Özgün asked very great question. Patrick, what are your goals before you retire?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, yeah, I really like being a pilot, and I think I will stay in this job until I retire. But one big goal is sure becoming a captain, and I think that's a big goal for all of us pilots. And sure, when I reach that goal, first of all, I will become a short haul captain, and someday also a long haul. And what is another goal of me? Yeah, maybe someday I will do training myself or go in the training department. Would be very interesting. So aviation is really a wild field, and I don't know. There are lots of things you can do, and I don't know which doors will open up. But a big goal of mine is becoming a captain before I retire.
That brings me to another question. When can you
Yeah,
be a captain? How long do you need to wait more?
yeah, that's a difficult question if you want to say the time, but I can say I can tell you how it works. It's a
Exactly.
seniority based. Yeah,
Not
it's a
necessarily have
seniority.
to be exact, but like a time frame.
Yeah. So Lufthansa is a seniority driven based airline. So we have a list where each pilot is listed by the date he joins the company. And according to these lists, the people are getting their command course. So um, I'm in the company for 5 years now. I have around 600 people behind of me at the list, but around 5,000 in front of me. So the last 5 years there was not much hiring, but you cannot tell how the hiring will be in the future. And if they hire more pilots, the amount of pilots behind you grows and your career gets faster. But if they slow down the hiring, it's exactly the opposite. So how fast you get the command course depends mainly on how many pilots the company hires or how many
Retires.
airplanes go into the company. And to estimate that, it's rather hard, but a rough guess of me would say I'm taking another 10 years to captain, or 12 years maybe.
I see. It's a long time, man. Really long time. When I
Yeah.
fly for uh, Emirates, I got some guys from Alitalia and everything. They're like, I was FO there for 22 years, and my friend's still there FO, and for being in the company maybe more than 30 years. I understand
Mm.
your point. But man, you said you have 600 guys behind you, right?
Yeah.
I just joined in February 14, 2023. I have 500 guys behind me already. So,
That's
so it's like
crazy. Yeah.
yeah. But don't forget, I have 14,900 guys in front of me. These companies in the
Yeah.
US, they're huge. More 15,000 pilots are employed in a single company. So it's great
Mhm.
because here the companies cannot create the since it's union. They okay, a company goes for I don't want to employ this pilot, rather than I will create a low cost carrier of a blah blah company so I can employ guys paid less. You cannot do this in the US because unions are very strong, and therefore the their companies, the big companies like Delta, American, United, they have like 15,000 pilots. Can you imagine?
Mhm.
It's huge number.
That's really huge. Yeah.
But right now you can be a
So
captain in US in a year.
yeah, that's crazy.
That's
One thing I
crazy
can add
because
to this topic. So in Europe, there are a lot of guys at the age 50 or a bit above 50. And I think the next 5 to 10 years, there are really a lot of retirements. So the
Mhm.
situation which you currently have in the US, where a lot of guys retired and they are searching so eagerly for new pilots, I think in Europe we'll have the same situation, but maybe not now, but in 3, 4, 5 years maybe.
Yeah.
And I think we are getting also to a bit faster careers in the future than we've seen it the last decade.
Exactly. You never know what's going to happen. You're expecting 10 years from now on, but you never know. Maybe
Yeah.
they will offer the early retirement, then people will retire and the company will start growing. Then it can be in 3, 4 years as well. That's the aviation, you cannot estimate anything.
Mhm.
I totally
Yeah.
agree with you. And I never put myself in a situation with the expectations. Everyone is just, of course, those are really nice goals to have in your life, but you should live the current moment. I have lots of friends are struggling because of that. Oh, the company didn't upgrade me to senior first officer position. I lost 200,000 Turkish liras because of that. Man, this
Mhm.
is the money that you didn't earn. If you are thinking that if I could have upgraded 6 years, 6 months earlier, I could have more earned this amount. That will make your life more miserable. You
Yeah.
will be more, stressed. You will be more sad, and you should enjoy the life and you should live the moment. But of course, you should make the plans. You should prepare yourself for this aim. But
Mhm.
long-term perspectives in aviation sometimes doesn't match. That's what I'm trying to say. We didn't know that there will be a COVID, but everything was so fast. During COVID time, thousands of pilots have lost their jobs, though. That's the other thing.
Mhm.
Another question from Furkan. Furkan is asking really great questions. Patrick, do you think whether it's still too late to begin flight training with the 30 plus age?
So yeah, that's a good question. And I think it's not too late because it's a great career. And also as a first officer, you have a very interesting job and a demanding job. And yeah, the good thing is the training doesn't take too long. So if you are doing a full-time training, maybe 2.5 years, you are getting a license and can apply for a job. So it's not a thing which is not possible also if you have a job before. Because, for example, if you're doing a degree at a university, you maybe need 5 or 6 years. And that's a lot harder to do in your 30s, I think, than doing a pilot training, which is rather fast. So, yeah. What do you think, Jana?
Actually, I agree with you, and I can specifically answer for Turkey case because I used to be a ground school instructor in Turkish Airlines, and I've instructed some guys at the age of 40, 40 plus, and they were coming from either military or they were being a pilot at the age of 40 after
Mm.
having a profession 20 years in some field. So I always tell them in Turkey, guys, it's not the late because still companies are hiring a lot. As long as you can afford your flight training, it's always nice to be a pilot because the growth in Turkey will be there for at least another 10 years. And I know that people are thinking the more you get older, this less chance that you can find a job, and you're not that competitive compared to 23, 24 years old guys. But there's a lot right now. There is in if you asked this question a year ago, I was telling exactly the same stuff. And for those who did their flight training during COVID time, actually they found a job right now in Turkey. So it's going to be there. And I strongly recommend, even if you're at 30, 35, 40, you can start. That's my opinion about it.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve Daly. I'm Canadian and I have two routes in front of me to become a pilot. The first is to attend to 4-year college and get networking and almost guaranteed a job, or go a normal flight school, get CPL. Okay, I believe he wanted to ask which path he should choose.
So the fast path directly through the flight school, or the little bit longer path where you also get a degree? Yeah, that's a hard question as well. I by myself could have chosen quite similar, because in the days back then, Lufthansa offered a college degree combined with a MPL license program, but it would have taken a lot longer. So I don't know, 2 years longer. And I opted for the short training, just to get on the seniority list a bit before the other guys. I thought if I want to have the degree, I can do it later on. But that was the situation here. I had the job guaranteed at Lufthansa, more or less. And as I read your question, it's quite the opposite at your situation. So I don't know. In your case, maybe I would opt for the longer way. So you have a degree plus a guaranteed job, and that sounds like a good package for me.
Yeah, I would answer this way. Guys, I strongly recommend you to have a degree, but don't study flight training in your degree, because it's like a 15 months job to get a CPL license. But you should definitely have a degree. That's my observation. Rather than having a flight training degree, you can go and study whatever you would like to study, but at the same time, simultaneously, you can go and get your pilot license and start applying for the jobs. As Patrick said, some airlines, some countries, the seniority is everything. And I'm 33 years old. I joined this company. I'm still relatively young, but there are guys 23 years old. They are 10 years ahead of me, and they will be number one in the seniority list with the 20,000 pilots, maybe 25,000 pilots. And he can do whatever he wants in his life. So the earlier you join, the better lifestyle you will have in a seniority-driven airlines. Or even, for those, for instance, who are not seniority-driven, you will be joining the company sooner than later. If you opt to go 4 years degree, it's going to take 4 years. But why not to apply the company after 15 months, as long as you get your license? That's my point of view.
And
Yeah.
I think
All right.
I can add to this. I know a lot of pilots who are doing their degree after they started flying, but it's also pretty hard, because it's an exhausting job and you're doing night shifts, and you need to relax at home. So the guys who are doing this probably starting at home then and flying on the job, they don't have much free time left. But it's possible.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. I agree. And another question I have: as a first officer in Lufthansa, can you work in other departments like training? You said training, safety. Can you have additional duties in the corporate field as a first officer?
Yeah, there are a lot of positions which they offer from time to time. You have to wait for the job offering, and then you can apply. And yeah, there are a lot of fields, like you said, safety departments, training department, or the fleet management department. So there are a lot of positions actually which you can apply for as a first officer as well.
But can you be a manager in those departments, or you need to be a captain for that?
So it's the most management positions are for the captains, but they often have some kind of assistant who is then the first officer. And like in other departments, the training department, you can become a flight instructor in the simulator. You can do type ratings some missions in the simulator, ground school, stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
great.
sure, for the line training in aircraft, you need to be a captain then. Or for the management positions, for the higher management positions, you have to be a captain as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, Jenna, what's your opinion on the training philosophy in airlines in the Middle East? In Canada, it's non-punitive and geared towards learning. Would you love opinion on this, please? I mean, I recorded the previous video. You can always go and check why did I resign from Emirates Airline. I exactly answered those questions on this. I don't want to talk another 5-10 minutes about it. Sabik, it's a great question. I totally agree, but I exactly answered those questions in this video. You can find the answer so we can ask more questions which is not already answered on YouTube. That's a great question though. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I'll take another question. It's going to be very technical maybe for other people. So how do you find CRM in Lufthansa, the cockpit environment? I believe it's a great, but how is it like flying? So you're a young guy, and I'm 100% sure since the captains are very senior, they're too old. Like maybe you are flying very old captains, like 60, 61, maybe sometimes 55, being in the company for 20 years. So how are the things working in Lufthansa?
That's really a good question, because I think the CRM is a very important thing in your day-to-day life in the job, and it can make your day very good or very bad if you have a bad CRM. And at Lufthansa, we really have a really good CRM. The people are all coming from the same flight school, did the same training, and what I really like, you get respected as a first officer, and it's good working together. You can say your opinions, and it's just a great teamwork. I think in some other airlines it's a bit harder, as the people are coming from different flight schools and have different backgrounds, and sometimes then the first officer is maybe not as respected in the team. I heard of that, at least from some colleagues.
Yeah, I think West cultures are a little bit more open, but it also, I was in Emirates. Emirates has a great CRM in the cockpit. When you are flying, I was first officer, and I was so free to fly, and unless safety involved, I was flying my own flight, and the captain's there just being my pilot monitoring. But there are some companies and cultures is very shy to speak up, and they think if I say something, it's going to be very disrespectful for the captain and their authority. But Westerners, they're like really great. We are team. If I do something, if fucked it up, it's teamwork, right? When you do something good, it's good because you are a team. But exactly, this is my philosophy. If I do something bad, captain is also doing something bad, not monitoring me. If captain is doing something bad, I cannot just simply say, oh, he did it or she did it, because we are team. We are there to monitor, and we are having a teamwork there. Yeah. So it's really important. I can say that I've worked in Emirates. That was great. I really enjoy the gradient here in the Emirates. I could say they're so close, but of course there's captain authority, but you can communicate with the captain as your friends. Like, for instance, I will tell you my example. I left Turkish Airlines. I went to Emirates. In Turkish Airlines, the gradient is a little bit more. And then, but of course, I can understand there are other reasons, because there are brand new FOs in Turkish Airlines, and they're not experienced, and the captains needs to kick in and then guide the first officer to teach most of the time until they gain experience, maybe 2,000, 1,500 hours. But whereas in Emirates and Lufthansa, you guys are coming, those companies, by experience already. You know how to fly. So you know the basic concept of being airmanship. Anyways, I was telling the captains, sir, captain, blah, blah, blah. Oh, how are you, sir? Blah, blah, blah. And then they said to me, we are not in Turkish Airlines. We don't have this. We always call each other with our names. No captain, no sir, nothing. And there's also cultural thing as well. In Eastern cultures, like Turkish or like Indian, like Korean, you cannot speak the captain their name. Maybe in India different, but in Turkish, it's also a matter of the culture. Because if someone is older than me 10 years, I never tell a guy with their direct name. But in the Western culture, it's okay. You can talk with someone else with their name. That's the thing, when I moved to Emirates, I was like, sir, captain. I've been warned a couple of times, and it takes some time, because it is not because I'm trying to be okay. I'm very respectful guy, but it's my culture. It takes some time to adapt. But now I get over this. Now I can do this in my life, but it takes some time. That's what I'm trying to say. So actually, your culture in your country is affecting the communication types in the cockpit as well. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So how is it? You call yourself each other with their name, right? In Lufthansa.
Yeah, at Lufthansa you also talk with the captain like with your friends. You call him by his name, and the gradient is also, sure, there's a bit of a gradient, but not too high, not too low, and it's just a good teamwork here.
Exactly. I
For
think this is the
example,
perfect.
in Austrian Airlines, it was a bit different story, because the captains came from different airlines, and with some the gradient was rather steep, and with other the gradient of hierarchy was lower. So it was different with each captain. And at
Yes,
Lufthansa it is more the same with each. So that's
I see.
you can more, it's easier for you, you know what to expect when you go to duty.
True. Same in Turkish Airlines, exactly the same. There are some captains, they can write a book about CRM. Great guys.
Yeah.
You know, the academic background, they apply it to real life, but then you fly some captains, at least in my time, then you need to adapt yourself, then you need to have different approach. But I understand. And okay, so I have a couple of quick questions. I want you to answer yes or no. Okay, but technical
Okay.
question. Do you need to file an ASR if you make a go around in Lufthansa, like maybe below 1,000 feet?
No.
No. Okay. And the other thing, if you miss your flight in there, what happens? Very quick question. Like, okay, you need to call them, they're tolerating this, or you can have trouble or not if you miss a flight.
So you miss your flight on duty?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you have trouble then.
Yeah, all right. You have trouble. That's good. What if the sick call? Do they do they have very moderate sick call policy, or you feel that you are being pushed when you are sick? You cannot call sick. How do you feel it?
No, I think it's a moderate good policy here. That's good.
That's great. All right, let's continue. What was the hardest part of being pilot? Was it in training? Was it training math or studying?
So training math, you probably mean training on the aircraft, I think, or
I didn't understand
yeah.
that part as well. So,
I think,
Mohammed, can you explain a little bit detail? What did you mean training maths? But you can answer, what's the hardest part of being pilot?
I think in the training itself, the training in the aircraft was very hard. So the first 1 or 2 flights, because it's really interesting and new, and you are overwhelmed by everything. So I think that's one of the hardest parts, really, to do your first flight with an instructor, the first 1, 2, 3. I would say that's rather the hardest part in the training. But you get used to it very fast. That's also quite interesting.
True. All right, we are already 1 hour 30 minutes in the live broadcasting. Let's make another 5 to 10 minutes, then we can finish it. I don't want to take your time.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
I can talk to you until tomorrow, man. It's really great, because I was interested with lots of questions as well. I'm getting to know the flying for Lufthansa, which is great. So, Jedi 01, do you guys think that in the coming next 6 years there will be a big demand for new pilots?
Yeah. So I think it's always hard to tell, because you don't know if there's something coming up like COVID or some crisis in the economy. But solely based on the demography of the people, there should be a big demand, because there are rather a lot of old guys who retire in the next 5 to 10 years. And the airlines placed also a lot of orders for new planes. So theoretically, there should be a big demand, but how it turns out, we will see.
I totally agree. I will say that, hell yeah, there will be huge demand. But don't forget, once every 10 years in aviation, there's always crisis.
Yeah.
9/11, 2007-8 mortgage crisis, then COVID. There was like prior that there was some little like regional crisis as well. So now we can expect some other crisis in the aviation. So it's
Mm.
very fragile sector. That being said, that people, the number of the humans in the planet Earth are getting more and more. Of course, there will be more demand in transportation, and as Patrick said, the retirements are coming up and up. These boomers are retiring after World War II. There was a huge demand in the aviation industry, and these guys are
Mm.
retiring, and then they will be done. Then there will be new generation. So I am expecting huge growth. And by the way, guys, you can always check the Boeing forecast and Boeing outlook and Airbus outlook. How many pilots, engineers will be needed in the industry for the next 20 years?
Mm.
They are forecasting this based on the aircraft orders, retirements, and everything. It's a great tool. I always check it, and you can go and check this as well. Okay, do you have any question, Patrick?
So do you already know who will be your next guest?
Say again, I didn't understand.
Do you already know who will be your next guest on the Pilot Talk?
I didn't decide it yet. There are
Okay.
some, guys, but I don't know if should I do it in English and Turkish. I will be having my Turkish friends as well. We are going to talk about the aviation in Turkey, but I'm in contact with some other pilots. We couldn't decide the date yet, but as soon as I decide, I will let you know. Maybe even you can join us again for 5-10 minutes if you have time.
Yeah, sure. It's a
That's
very
the great.
interesting format, and would love to hear from pilots from other regions how life is there.
Exactly.
And
That's
yeah.
exactly how it is. Like there are live streamers, but they're not like there are some pilots, but pilots are making videos with themselves and they're very famous. This is great. I watch them a lot and I learn a lot. But when you have in real communication with each other and you make a live together, it's even better. We can maybe organize one day a guy from US, which is me, Europe from you. We can have someone from Middle East and Asia, and then we can talk the differences and everything. And it's gonna be a real nice topic, to be honest.
That's true.
Okay, guys, before we leave, if you have your final questions, please go ahead and send them and we will try to answer them. And after that, slowly we can finalize for today and we can continue some other days. Guys, what do you think of Boom's Supersonic aircraft? I can answer this. As far as I know, they still don't have any engine yet. Then Rolls-Royce said that we are not gonna produce any engine for Boom, but there are some North American carriers who already gave pre-order, but I don't know how fast it will be. Do you have any idea about it, Patrick?
So it's a really interesting concept, but I think it's hard to estimate how long it takes, as it's hard to get an engine for that aircraft. And yeah, I don't have an estimate if they ever get one or how long it will take, but I would love to see the aircraft really flying. Would be interesting.
Yeah, the supersonic flights will come back or not, we will see. Because the main problem here, how much more you need to pay and how efficient will it be? And then, now currently you can cross the Atlantic within maybe 7 hours, 6 hours. So is it worth to pay more if you travel and cross Atlantic in 3 hours or Pacific? That's the main challenging point. You should design an airplane which is going to be very, very, very super economical, and also at the same time you can save time. Then it's a totally different story. So I don't know about it. Steve, is CPL route worth it? In Canada, it's hard to get a job after CPL, and if you get one, you will fly little to no hours per month. I don't know, Steve, because this is Canada-specific questions. I mean, I don't know the current market. Do you have any idea about it?
So I don't have any idea because Canada is totally a different region, and how the market is there, I don't know. So if you don't know, Jenna, I think we cannot help you with this question, Steve.
Yeah, I don't know, unfortunately, but what I can recommend, once you get your CPL, you can try to find job abroad. Maybe there are companies who can give you type rating, and plus employ you until you gain some jet experiences. I would recommend you to take some Asian jobs, Asian market, because they need, demand in the next couple of years. Maybe you can find the job opportunity in the Asian market or somewhere else in the world. So you don't necessarily need to stay in Canada if you cannot find a job. There's also another option. There are lots of friends of mine, after getting CPL, they went to abroad, but that's also very challenging because most of the companies, for instance, in Turkey, they're asking for Turkish citizenship. A Canadian with CPL most probably cannot come, but definitely there are other countries who are accepting with CPL, and they're training you type-rated, make you type-rated and make you fly there. At least you can gain 1,000 hours, and then you can maybe 1,500, you can have your ATPL. Then from there, you can fly somewhere else. Okay, that being said, I don't know if we have any question. We can ask our managers behind the scene. They are managing the broadcast today. Özgün and Julia, thank you very much to them. We are really appreciated your efforts on that. If you don't have any question, I would like to finish our live broadcasting. And before going, as usual, I always say this, guys, please don't forget to like this live and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. It's really important. And I strongly recommend you to follow Patrick's accounts as well. He just opened his own YouTube channel. I believe he's going to upload some nice videos. But
yeah, I'm trying to do a bit of a video.
Nice.
I think it's more interesting than Instagram because you can show a bit more, and yeah, just stay tuned. And hopefully I can upload some videos in the next weeks. It's always very busy with the kids, and yeah, we will see.
True, but now you can go ahead and subscribe to his channel, and you hit the button so you can get the notifications once he uploads new videos. But don't forget to subscribe his like and follow on his Instagram account as well, because he shares really nice stories. I really like your stories from above, sharing the geographical places, layovers, hotels. I really like it, man, because
so if you want to get an impression how working as a pilot here in Germany really looks like, it's good to follow me on Instagram. I keep you updated in the stories, and yeah, thank you for following.
Thank you. Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. We were on live 1 hour 36 minutes, almost 1 hour 37. Oh, Patrick, you got German. I don't know what's written here.
Ja, danke. Hoffe ich auch.
Thank you so much, Online Simulations, watching us today. All right, guys, see you in the next time with another guest. And I got promise from Patrick, he will be joining us as well for this maybe a couple of minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes, and we can talk there too. All right, that being said, see you in the next live video. Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye.